Hello. It did not work. Oh my goodness. That's weird. I'll try it again.
Okay.
Are we live? Are we not? This is the weirdest thing. I think the gremlins are out. Hey everyone, Angela Wolf here. I don't know if we're live or not. I think we are. You see the theme today? It's green. There's a lot of green going on. I just realized it. The header, my shirt. Well, green, I'm thinking of grass since I see zero. We got a ton of snow here in Michigan. I love it for a day, but now it can melt. So welcome everyone. Say hi. Today is a special Veterans Day for all of us in the USA. We thank you for your service, and because of you, we're having this fun time sewing. So thank you. And today we have a great project, super fun. Emily Thompson is here, and this is kind of funny. So Thursday's show, Sarah's on showing Art Spira. I'll give you a hint. It's a really cute turkey, very cute. But we pre-recorded today. So I wish you happy Veterans Day again, but you're not going to see it till Thursday. So before you think that I've totally lost my mind, just know both shows were recorded today, but we're live today. Let's bring up Emily. Emily, how are you?
Hi, I'm good. So happy to be here today. We don't have snow, but it is windy and cloudy and dreary, so it's a perfect day to be inside sewing and being here with all of you. So I'm excited to do the show today.
Having fun. Everybody's rolling in to say hi. So we are live now. I'm not sure if at the beginning we were live, and I was like, are we live? Are we not live?
All right, we're here.
The gremlins are out. So we've got a great theme going on right now this week. And a lot of it's kind of fall, Thanksgiving. So today's show kind of ties in with the show that we're going to show on Thursday too, with some turkeys. So what are we doing today, Emily?
All right. Well, I have sewn lots of things for a fall/Thanksgiving table over the years. Lots of embroidered runners and napkins with embroidery. And the Art Spira app actually is chock full of designs that are super cute for that. But today, we're not doing embroidery per se, but we are going to be using my embroidery machine to do some fun fill designs on top of little Quilt-As-You-Go projects. Now this one I want to show you because I made this several years ago. It's a table runner. It could be a little bit longer, but actually I just use it kind of under my centerpiece. And I have it on my kitchen island all fall with like little seasonal decor. And this one has been washed several times. And I was just realizing today how like soft and really good it looks actually after washing it. My ones that are brand new do not look nearly as smooth and just pretty. So actually washing it a couple times has really worn in the fabric and the stitching. So you'll see some of the same fabrics. As you can see, I sort of use up scraps and then I buy a couple more designs of fall fabric every year. So this is probably 3 or 4 years old. I have had it out every season and then I wash it because it does sit in our kitchen. So it's held up really well and quilted through the back. It's hard to see, of course, because that fabric is so busy. But today, just for the sake of time and you not wanting to watch me sew straight lines for an hour, we're going to make
Emily, why would you think we don't want to watch you sew straight lines for an hour? That would be fun.
Come on. Okay. Well, it's like kind of watching paint dry, right? Just like stitching. But we're going to make a little mug rug that you could do with coordinating fabrics or the same fabrics, or like me this year, I was using up scraps from previous year's fall projects, including like my welcome sign that I hang on my door and this table runner that I have here. So I have some of the same fabrics. And this year I actually purchased this new like black and white pumpkin fabric, but I'm not going to use that today because I'm trying to move a little more into like Thanksgiving and less like Halloween-y fall. But you can see it's just really cute and easy. You can sew the strips at like angles to make it really scrappy, or you can keep them really straight if you want to do that. So we're going to sew just a really cute, easy mug rug. But what I do want to show you is also, so on this one, I actually quilted some of them. You can see I just did straight lines up and down, and then some of them are straight lines this way. And so I just like self quilted this. And again, this was years ago before I even had the Stellaire. And this would be a little bit big for one hoop, but I probably could do it in like a 3 hooping or a 2 hooping quilt. But so I just quilted this one sort of, you know, by hand with my machine. But what I thought would be really fun is to take one of these and do some fill designs on the stripes of the fabric and use like different fills for different parts of the project. So we're gonna try and do that. So I'm gonna stick this in a hoop, we're gonna transfer it to my machine, and then we're gonna see if we can find some fun fills to fill this out. And then while that's stitching, hopefully, we'll sew up a little mug rug, and then you can see kind of how it all comes together in the end. So that's my plan. I'm gonna just go ahead and readjust this camera, 1, so you can see the counter where I'm gonna hoop my fabric and transfer it, and then 2, so you can see my screen just a little bit better as we sort of play with the fill designs.
Sounds good. Sounds good. While you're changing that camera, I'm saying hey to everyone. Hey, Mary Jane, in Florida, yes. My friends in Florida said it's absolutely freezing there. We didn't send you the snow, but there's definitely a cold front going through. So, by the way, Glenda, I see you here. I will see you in Fresno, California this week. There's a big Brother event there. And I see a lot of new Brother fans here that were just at World Widener in Oklahoma City. That was a great event as well. So great to see you all. And we love it. Say where you're from. And if you're new here, welcome to the party. And I think Emily, you ready for me, Emily?
I'm ready.
All right, I got you.
Okay, so I'm just gonna really quick, I'm gonna hoop my stabilizer here. And because this is just gonna fit in the middle, I'm actually just gonna attach it with a couple pins. You could also use like adhesive stabilizer if you wanted, but I'm just gonna try and keep it in place. All right, so I'm just putting a piece of stabilizer into my hoop. This is the 5x7 hoop. I'm gonna grab a couple of pins to keep it into place. And I'm going to put this in the center of my hoop. Now, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna use my Snap app on my phone to then transfer a picture of this in the hoop to the embroidery machine so that we can create the fill designs that we want for it. All right, so that's the plan. So I'm just gonna put this right here, and I'll show you what the app looks like if you're not familiar with it. Hopefully it's, I turned my, oh, there it goes. If you don't have your machine on and like connected to Wi-Fi, then this won't load. So make sure you do that ahead of time, just for ease and quickness of use. All right, so we're gonna snap capture with frame for pattern editing. And then it says to hold above your frame. And when you get it in the right position, it says hold, and it counts down 1, 2, 3. And then you can see here, there's a picture of my design in the app. Okay, so we're gonna send it to the machine. Okay, and now we're gonna open that up in my design center. I'm gonna turn down the brightness just a bit. It's not as pretty, but I feel like you can see the screen on the machine better if I do that. Okay, so let's grab the image, and it's that new one, and the newer one goes to the top. So you can see here, this is a picture of what was in my hoop. So we're gonna set that. And then you can isolate, if you want, right where your fabric is or the design is that you wanna work with. So I'm just gonna shrink that down. It'll take a second, then it's gonna import it. So now we have some pretty basic straight lines on here. So instead of trying to draw lines, because actually I'm really not very good drawing on this screen, I'm going to just create some rectangle boxes to use for our fill on there. So let's see when it just is thinking for a while here. But hopefully it will show up. Okay. Set. Okay, so now we have it in the design center, and so we can begin to use it. So I'm gonna just grab a rectangle to start with. which will be a square. But then we're going to go to size, and we're going to shrink it down so that it fits about on one of my strips of fabric. And my strips of fabric were all, I think, 1.5 inches. So they're all pretty similar. So we should be able to, once we make one rectangle, we should be able to just duplicate it for the others. All right. So now I'm going to move it up, and we're going to put this one at the top, okay? And then we're going to go duplicate, back to size, and we're going to move this one into the second box. And this one looks like it's a little bit smaller, so I'm just going to make it a little bit thinner. Okay. I'm going to go back up and touch, see if I can grab that first one to duplicate it. Sometimes it's hard to see on this screen with all the busyness here. Okay. I've got something grabbed that or selected that I don't want to. So, Angela, you know how I can go back and grab that whole rectangle without, it's just highlighting a tiny little piece here for me.
I'm looking at the bottom, because all the machines are just a little bit different. At the bottom, do you have that select?
No.
Your screen just got blurry. I'm looking at your earrings now.
Yeah.
I'm looking down below for the select.
Yeah, I wonder if it's in the clipboard. No, that's that little piece. Yeah, I'm not
that
sure.
little rewind, that little reverse one at the very bottom. Did you try that?
Yeah. Okay, there we go. All right, so that's selected. So now I can duplicate that again. Bingo. Yeah, it is. Yesterday I was trying to like touch it with my finger, and then it would like select something else. So if you can use the buttons, this is my little pro tip, it's definitely easier. And I'm not a button person. I usually just like to like click and drag with my finger, but on this one, definitely easier if you can use it. All right, we're gonna duplicate this. We are getting there, and then we'll use the fills to fill this. So it's a little tedious, you can see in the moment, although once you get going, not so bad. I don't have to ever adjust the width because it's straight, the width is the same. So I'm just adjusting using these buttons up here a little bit if I want to adjust the height of my rectangles. All right, last one. We're gonna move that into place. Probably should turn the beeping off on my machine while I'm doing this. All right, so now we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 rectangles. And so we can go ahead and select a fill. And I was looking around yesterday, and there's some cute, just geometric ones that I thought would be good. So let's start with this diamond.
That's one of my favorites, Emily.
Yes, I really do like this one. So then we're going to select our paint bucket, and I'm going to do the 2 oranges with the diamonds. And so I know it's a little bit far away, but it is overlaying that diamond over top of those 2 boxes. So now I'm going to grab a different one. I also really like this. Oh no, it was up here. I like the like beehive one too. But the circles I think are really cute. So let's grab the circles. And we're going to put those in these 2 sections. And then we'll do the final one. Something last but not least, maybe the brick. And then we'll put that in the middle. Maybe. Is it picking up my pattern so that it's not, it might not be overlaying it correctly. All right, let's take a look and see what we've got. Yes, it did not, on the patterned ones, it did not do that. So I probably want to remove the background, huh? to do that. Anyway, we will just continue on and show you part of this so that we don't spend forever doing this. You can adjust on the stitches what you're going to be sewing, the density, the thickness, all of that. If you go and select the fills, you can also choose on those like the size of all that. So there's a lot that you can play around with. I'm not going to adjust all that in this moment, but you can go ahead and fill in all of that. Now it has a lot of things selected here. So I am going to remove some of these stitches so that we're not stitching that all out, because it's got a lot of nonsense going on here. So we're going to edit, we're going to no sew. And we're going to no sew several of these that are not what we want to sew. So we can just do the ones that we want. I needed to remove the background on this, but it's okay. All right, so we're just going to embroider the stippling or the fill that we wanted. I have a yellow embroidery thread in my machine, hopefully kind of a little contrast to the colors that are in here. And I'm going to go ahead and lock that into place. Go to change to a larger embroidery frame. What? All that, and did I put it in the wrong size frame? New, you should work. Oh my goodness. I can't shrink it down, can I? I did all this and I'm in the wrong frame. Well, of course, on a live show, maybe we won't stitch this out. You just get to see the demonstration of how it would stitch out, because
that's because it's live.
Of course. I thought it, because it was letting me do this whole thing and it knew it was in a 5x7 frame when I took the picture. That's silly. Okay, well, I'm not going to change all that. Okay, we're going to switch cameras and we're going to sew one of these up, and then we're going to see. Okay, so we could do the fill designs on this. You could hand stitch like I did in my other one. But all right, we're going to switch over and sew a little mug rug. All right, this will take just a second to flip over.
Okay, I've got you covered while you're flipping. While she's flipping, everyone's saying this is fun. I know. Oh, someone said to check to make sure your design was in the center. Sometimes that will do it. I wasn't. I couldn't see close enough to see.
Smack dab in the center to me.
Yeah. Hey, Julianne says, did you see sometime she posted on Facebook a project that she did? She tagged you, so make sure you check that out.
I will have to take a look.
All right, back to you, Emily.
Okay, so whether you're making a table runner or a mug rug, the first thing you want to do is start with a piece of quilting batting that is about the size that you want. I actually like to make it a little bit bigger than the size of my final project, so that I can trim and make sure that everything is squared up later. All right, so you're going to take your batting and you're going to take your first piece of fabric, and I just have here, these are actually different widths between 1.5 and 2 inches of the kinds of fabric that I want to use. And so the first one, you want to overlap a little bit. So we're going to sew it right side down so we can actually flip it open. Actually, we're going to just do 2. Never mind. All right, so for the first strip, we're going to lay this so that it overlaps a little bit on the outside. And then I'm going to take a different piece of fabric with a different design, and I'm going to lay it directly on top. You can see that I cut my pieces of fabric a little bit longer than I needed, just for ease of use. And then I'm going to stitch this, and actually, we're going to go back. my needle is left aligned and I actually want it right aligned. Okay, so now we're going to stitch again. Because I'm just doing this on my counter, I am using the buttons and not the presser foot, and I absolutely love having that option on these machines. I just do a tiny back stitch. I don't really know if you have to, because actually you're going to put a binding around the outside and all of that, but you can. Now, so the quilt-as-you-go idea is that you're literally quilting it to the batting kind of as you're sewing this. So instead of doing stitching or quilting later, you can literally do all of the stitching that you want as you're doing each piece if you want. Or like I said before, you could do this and then take it over and add the stippling or the fills to the top. I'm just going to do a little top stitch here to show you that you can then just sort of top stitch it down. But you could also do this with a more decorative thread. I just have white thread on here right now, which is absolutely not exciting. You can press this with an iron if you want. You also can just go ahead and press it over with your finger and then do a top stitch to keep everything in place. And it goes really fast to do it. So I mentioned before that you could make it a little bit of a wonky, more an angled pattern, and that's by playing with the angles that you place your fabric. So let's do one of those. So instead of placing this straight on the fabric, I'm going to angle it, and then I'm going to use the guide of the new angled piece as my line that I'm sewing on. And of course, the thread came undone. Check and rethread. If you remember from last week's live, the needle threader on this machine is currently not aligned, so I'm putting on my glasses every time this needs to be threaded. Okay, so we'll just do a quick little rethread here. I probably should sew with my glasses the whole time because, wow, I can see so much better, but.
Emily, I don't know why you'd want to do that. I put mine on and off and on and off.
Oh my goodness, the other day I was doing something and I was like, I really cannot see. It is so bad. Oh. Yep. My eyes were good for so long, I thought maybe I was going to get away with it, but nope. All right, so now you have this piece that is now giving us a cute little angle on here. And so we're going to top stitch here. And then we're going to do an angle on the next one that's going the opposite way. And if you kind of go back and forth on these, I think it adds a really cute little dimension and just gives a fun way to mix up the patterns of what you're sewing, even without changing your fabric. So you could keep your same fabrics that sort of mix up your designs. So this time we'll make the wide part here at the top, and then we'll angle it down to the bottom there. And this does look, when I made that sort of table runner, it really looks nice when it's sort of a bigger piece as well. I think that is my favorite project that I've done using this technique. But if you just want something quick and easy, or you do just have small scraps that you're trying to use up, these little coasters or mug rugs are a perfect way to do it as well. That just give you an easy way to use up your fabric. So you can see how we have now some different angles in there, but yet it's still laying flat because I'm just keeping the next piece going the next direction. So we can add in another one here. We'll just do a couple more. And again, make sure you're aligning the left side. Sometimes I was like getting ready to line up the wrong
side of the fabric. Think about how you want to play with that. Make sure the pieces are laying flat. They're not twisted or pulled as you go, and then it should make sure that it lays flat when you're finished. Okay, so I think we'll do one more after this, and then we'll be able to finish this one up. So I did not pre-cut a backing, but you'll want a solid piece of fabric, the full size of what you're sewing for the backing. And this is just a little bit long here, so I'm going to trim it. All right, so last one, we'll do the green here again. Lined up. And so I sometimes like to just wait to cut that if I know I have fabric, because I'll wait and see what this trims up to be and what the actual size is before I go ahead and cut the backing. And you can, I think at least 3 colors of fabric make a good scrappy look, but 4 or 5 is fun too, especially if you're doing a big one or you're doing really narrow strips. So these are a little bit wider strips because again, I didn't want this to take like 30 minutes to sew straight seams here. So we use wider pieces of fabric, but the narrower the pieces, actually the better it looks because it just gives a little more texture and play in the fabric. So now you're going to take your finished rug or your finished start of it here, and you're going to trim off the extra fabric. So I'm going to go ahead and trim this down, especially the sides with the long pieces. And now you could decide if you wanted to cut it down even further, you could. If you want to square, you probably do want to square it up. I tried to square up my batting before I started this so that I wouldn't really have a lot of trimming when I was finished. Okay, so you get it how you want. Then you're going to grab your backing fabric. And I just like to lay it right on top to cut it, because then you'll end up with, we want this to really be the same as much as we possibly can. The same for ease of putting the backing on. At this point, if this fabric has a right side and a wrong side, obviously you want the right side facing out. This plain orange doesn't really. So I'm just going to hold that in place. And then we're going to go ahead and cut off the extra. Our next step is to add the binding on. And this is long, but I'm not sure if this is wide enough. It is not. Okay, so we're going to cut a piece of this orange to bind around the edge to finish. And you want to make sure it's long enough to go all the way around. Plus, I like to have several inches extra for making sure that you can connect the ends. It's just way easier if you have extra fabric. Okay, so I'm grabbing my ruler here, trying to put this where you guys can see. I'm lining it up on my cutting mat, and I'm going to cut 2 inches wide for the binding to make sure we have plenty to work with. Okay. And then you're going to take it and you're going to fold it with the long ends together, and you're going to place it on one side of your either mug rug or your table runner. That's the word I'm looking for. Okay, now I'm not going to pin it all the way around, because when I get to the corners, you know, I want to be able to give some extra fabric there so that it will go around. I'm terrible at metered corners, but I always try a little bit to get in there. And so I'm going to do my best. But I'd like to have the extra fabric and not have it all attached. So I'm just going to place one bit to start. And then I'm going to, like I said, see, I have all this extra fabric. That's going to make it way easier for me to connect the ends. I'm going to start in the middle of one side so that we'll finish in the middle of that side and hopefully be able to make a smooth connection when we get there. I'm going to use the edge of my presser foot to give me a nice seam allowance. And we're going to stitch till we get close to the corner. Okay. I know everyone has their own methods for doing this. I don't know. This is, I think, what works best for me, but it's hard to know. What's good? I'm not a professional quilter, so please don't judge my quilt binding abilities here. This is why I only make mug rugs and not quilts. And I'll send me your tips later after you see me botch this.
You're so funny, Emily. I'm like, you know, I'm not a big quilter either, so I'm not going to be judging.
Well, the funny thing is, I just like, this is, it always looks fine. So I'm like, I'm never inspired to really like do better. I don't know. If I made real quilts, it probably would bother me more, but I don't. But all right, we're getting there, you guys. Going around. I know, real quilters probably die, just like, that's okay. It's gonna look so cute, and it's gonna be colorful. And if you serve someone a coffee or a tea on it, they won't care because it'll be delicious and tasty and warm.
And you know, Emily, speaking of mitered corners, there are different techniques for doing that. So I would love to see in the comments for those that have tried the mitered corner, what's your favorite technique?
Absolutely. So this one that I'm doing is actually one where you do sew off the fabric and then start again. For me, this is what's worked. And some people too, like, do you sew your binding on the top of your fabric first, or do you sew your binding on the bottom of your fabric first? That is also, I feel like, a big difference that people do in bindings. And I know I've seen like the only way to do it right is to start on the top, and the only way to do it right is to start on the bottom. So obviously there's not just one way, but I think that's also a difference that people have. Okay, so I'm now like about an inch from where I started. I'm gonna back off and pull this off. Oh, I sewed my corner down, you guys. This is a terrible, today's show is not gonna go well, just so you know.
And you know what? Emily said, or Julianne, I love her. She says, Emily, you do Emily. I love that, Julianne.
Yeah, my Emily today might be a hot mess. That's all I got to say. So our binding is going to be all on the back because that's the way I can make it work. Anyway, but what my preference for connecting the binding is where you lay out the strips and you actually connect them at a right angle and then do the angle so that you don't have a big bunch. Then it gives, it's on a diagonal, so that you don't have a seam that is bunchy. However, when I'm doing such a small area like this, it's really hard to get enough length in there to do that. So I'm just going to today mark where it meets on there, and then we're going to just sew a straight line simply because of the size of this project. So I think a bigger project, you can do that easier, but a smaller project is much harder to do that. And again, if you mess up your corners, then you can just tuck it all to the back, and we're going to make it look pretty but not be able to see anything. So I'm just sewing straight across the binding. Okay, and then we'll trim. And then the last and final step is to top stitch all of this. But like I said, my corners, like something got connected. Oh, first I have to sew this down. Haha. All right, let's sew this to the, because otherwise we have a hole. We don't want to have a hole. Sew this to the fabric after we've connected the ends. Then we can tuck it back. And I'm going to actually fold it all the way over so you can't see it, okay, because of my corners. So I will be definitely checking out the comments, all of your weird corner tips, because this one that I just did not go as I wanted. But I did pretty good on this little guy. So I don't know what I did differently today. Maybe the standing up sewing at my counter here, but so I'm just tucking this all the way to the back so that I don't have to deal with the corners. You can see it's just going to be fabric on the top, okay? And that's a way to do it too. Then you don't have to deal with the corners at all. You can just have the fabric tucked up. And actually the borderless look is cute. So up to you. Maybe I invented something amazing here.
Yep, just they say Emily's keeping it real. We love it.
Every time. Some days it should be like not sewing with Emily, like inventing new crazy situations here. All right.
Darlene's making a mug rug.
Yeah. So I'm going to sew really close to the edge, and then I probably would stitch another one about a 1/2 inch in because my binding is wide on the back. For the sake of time, I probably won't today. I'll just do this close stitch and show you how it looks. But to make that back really nice and pretty, we probably would want to sew another border, or I would have wanted to do like a thinner fabric, but of course, since this wasn't really my intention, I didn't do that. So anyway, hopefully you can see that sometimes when you make mistakes. Now, of course, if I wasn't live, I probably would have ripped out the binding and restitched it. But again, just like sewing straight lines, using a seam ripper on a live show is about the least exciting thing that could possibly happen. So we'll just make this work so that we can have a little finished product here. And when I come back in December, I'll just pray that that show goes better. I don't have things that are all over the place. But these are cute. I actually am excited because over the past few weeks for different things, I've sewn up a couple. So now I think I have almost enough for our family to each have one, which is just a cute little colorful addition to your table. So, all right. Here's our cute little scrappy mug rug, and hopefully that can be a fun addition to your table. Or if you're inspired to sew even more, I'll show you the runner one more time. But we have these little guys, and then
those are so cute, Emily. I love them.
Yeah, they really do sew up actually really quickly, which is fun. And I mean, hopefully quickly. And they're great scrap buster. So that's fun. And then here's the more full size one. And this is only, it's a little over 2 feet. So it's perfect for like a centerpiece, but obviously you'd want it longer if you were doing like a full runner for your table. But I've just done this with a centerpiece on it. Our table isn't huge, and so a runner sometimes makes it hard to like put other things on the table. So this works perfect for us, but for a big table or a big party, something longer. But again, these do hold up. You can wash them. So if you spill on them or anything like that, don't worry about it. Totally washable. And in fact, I feel it just gets softer, like a worn quilt, softer with age, and lays really nicely. I do usually give it a little bit of a press when I take it out of the washer, but otherwise very low maintenance and easy to pull out every year and use. So, all right, I'm going to switch back to the camera where you can see me to finish up, and then we'll be good to go.
All right. Drop your comments in. Everybody's saying they like it better without a border anyways. You nailed it, Emily. This is called a design opportunity. That's usually what we call these, right, everyone?
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, everyone is just very kind, and I appreciate it. even when things don't go always according to plan.
Hey, your live shows, that's the best part. So
yes.
Everybody's saying they love it. They love it. And nobody really had a favorite technique for mitered corners. Some people said they would stitch it and then hand stitch it. Others say they don't even use that.
Yes.
So you're all good.
Okay. Well, it's funny because I've done this one before, but then, yeah, I caught the edge and so I couldn't turn it. So I had to turn the whole thing. So I will be working on that maybe in a few months. If I attempt another project with the border, I'll have gained wisdom and have some tips to share, but not today. So make the mug rug, figure out the binding on your own, and you'll be all set.
You know, Emily, I have to confess, every time I do a mitered corner on a quilt, like if I do mitered corners on jackets or garments, I'm good. I can do it in my sleep. But when it comes to the corners on those little quilt pieces, I literally have to go to my books or watch a video to remind myself
every time
because I'll do it and I'm ripping. So makes you feel any better.
Yes, like today, you're ripping it out to figure out where did I sew that wrong. Yes, but anyway, you can usually, especially on the little ones, make it work, and it's not a big deal because you're not wearing it. It's not getting a lot of wear and tear if it's just sitting on your table. So figure it out and enjoy the finished result because it usually looks cute no matter if it was a perfect corner or not.
This sounds awesome. Emily, thank you for the inspiration. And don't forget, if you have the Stellaire or the Luminaire or the Aventaire, they all have My Design Center. Even going back to Dream Machine, play with those. The fills are so much fun. So play with those. If you've not downloaded the My Design Snap app, that's what she was using for the Stellaire. Different than Artspira. It's My Design Snap app. And there's so many fun tools. So Emily, it's a great show. On Thursday, Sarah's going to be here with her pink turkey. You're going to love it. And it's out of Artspira. And then next Tuesday is the big Artspira gift guide fun show. That's all I can tell you. There's a giveaway, and that's next Tuesday, so mark your calendar. Emily, can't wait to see you next month. Till next time, everyone, happy sewing.
Thanks.